welcome back. Whitney here. I just realized that I have not done a video of any of my houseplants, but today I wanted to film this because I am taking some pothos plants that I have had for years. This one, I believe, these have been like my mother plants. This one, I believe I've had for over 10 years in this grow pot. You can kind of tell if you look at the bottom here, the roots are kind of climbing out. And yes, they are very dry, but when I go to repot them, I want them to be super duper dry. So many cuttings off this. I've given plants to friends. Whenever it climbs out of its pot, it tends to get really leggy. So then I will just propagate it. I have a planter behind me that I'll show that is a big long one. All cuttings from these. These were the only. So these are like my, OG houseplants. They're the ones that have given birth to all the other pothos in my house, but they are pretty sad. The dirt is very tired. I have fertilized it. If you look, it's just kind of, dirt breaks down over time. So today I'm going to propagate these and actually get rid of these pots. I'll show you some that I've grown from this, from these two. I actually usually will take them and cut them. I've actually taken them apart, trying to just make them happier. I really hesitated to take them out of these pots because they just they're the best houseplants. If you're thinking about getting into houseplants, get a golden pothos because you literally can't kill it. When it looks dead, water it, comes back to life. Okay, so my super, super high-tech, very expensive propagation tools. I have a soil tray. Okay, the reason you need this is I was doing this right on my table, and one day my husband came in and he's like, can I get you a tray or something? Most people would do this outside, or people have cute little benches. It's hot outside today, right? It was 40 degrees yesterday, so of course today would be 90. I'm inside where it's air conditioned, so I'm using this. And the best tool for me propagating and dividing, the plastic fork. I love it. Okay, let's get to it. So the first thing I'm gonna do, take the pot and just kind of release it from the planter. Like I said, this guy had some really gnarly roots, if you can see that. Wow, tons. So obviously, why I like the soil to be really dry is it just kind of crumbles. It'll come right apart, and I'll actually be able to see what I have, what I'm working with here. So I want to take as much of this old, tired soil off of here. Here's a propagation or a cutting that didn't really, well, I don't know. It does have some little teeny roots on there. I'll put him in the maybe pile. You really want to have something with leaves on it to make it a viable transplant. So that guy will do fabulously. Now sometimes I will clean them up. So if you can see, this is where a cutting, probably a dead, something died. So I'm just gonna kind of clean it up. Same thing here, that's not doing anything for anybody. Always check the roots if you have any that are really soft or mushy, which usually with pothos you don't get that, especially because they're ones that can be super dried out. Now this guy is a little sad and lifeless. You'll see he doesn't have much for roots on there. I am, because there are leaves on it, going to try. And then I have this big, beautiful one. So you can see where the root is coming off and where it was a cutting. Now, all of these are aerial roots, they're nodes. Basically, I could cut, and everywhere I have one of those, start a new plant. But that's not really what I want to do. I want to keep some green in the pot, and so I'm going to leave all of these intact for the new plant. new planting. All right. This guy too looks like it does have a little bit of new growth on here. I am going to trim that. And yeah, I mean, you can tell this dirt is just like, ugh, not much to it. Okay, let's get to the next one. Okay, so this soil actually looks a little bit better, and look at all the roots on here. You can see just how crazy. Definitely needed a new pot. So this dirt's really, really dry, and it's just kind of crumbling off. This is where I would use the fork, is if I have roots that are really tangled, I'll kind of use the fork to help me take them apart. This is coming apart so easily. So I'm not, like, that's just crazy town. Look at that. All right, we are gonna do some cleanup on this guy because it looks like, so crazy. So the roots that are on this one, the viable, like these really long, are actually attached to this dead that normally I would totally chop off. But I don't want this plant to, this leaf to suffer, because I know that will grow some more. So crazy. And I don't know, like, am I the only one that's this nerdy? But I absolutely love this, like taking the plants apart and then repotting them up. I swear every time you take them apart and replant them, that they just like get this whole new life. It's amazing. All right, so here is one, get the camera right. You can see this doesn't have a leaf on it, but you can see that those roots here, these side ones, are alive and doing well. I am gonna cut this middle section off. And one thing I didn't know or talk about, but you can see it here on my supply table, is having a good pair of scissors or snips. If you're trying to pinch that stuff off, you can actually do a lot more damage. And Clorox wipes, or Lysol wipes, some sort of sanitizing wipes, so that you're sanitizing your snips. You don't want to I take these out in the garden, I prune roses with them, and you don't want to be transferring illness or disease or anything like that from plant to plant. That guy, all twisted, crazy. When I plant this, I'll actually plant it, all of this probably in, and on these little nodes, they'll either become a root, or some of them hopefully will become leaves. Okay, this is one that normally people would probably look at and toss, but if you see, it's got that new baby leaf and it has a good viable root right here. So I'm just gonna kind of clean it up. Oh man, look at this. This is a jungle. Okay, same thing on this one. Most of the stem looks pretty dead. So I'm just gonna clean it up, plant it up. Oh, look at that one. Okay, this one you can definitely tell was a cutting that I actually made and replanted. So you can tell because it had, this was a stem, and I cut it here and here, here and here, and buried it back into the soil. And now it has, obviously, some new growth on it. Really cool. So exciting. This is one of the reasons I love Pothos. I mean, there's not a lot of plants that you can just like dissect like this and then put them back together. All right, so this guy is looking sad, and this root is looking a little sad too. Here's to hoping that one comes back. Okay, this one has not gotten any roots yet. No viable roots on it. So I'm actually gonna take this one and put it in my propagation box. I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm actually going to help this get some roots before I put it in soil, just to increase the chances of it making it. Okay, look at this. Look at that. It's a monster. Just crazy. Look at those. All right, so obviously this part right here has served its purpose. Thank you for coming. But the rest of those look great. It's bringing, you can see, new baby leaf here. Does anybody else get like ridiculously excited about a new baby leaf? Like, oh my goodness, when my Monstera opens a new leaf, it's like having a baby be born for me. All right, quick trim here. Some of those. Now, you don't need roots this long, obviously, to, you could take something like this, stick it in, and a lot of times it will grow. But just to increase our chances and keep the plant really healthy and vibrant, I'm keeping a lot of them. Now, when we go to plant, I might need to trim a little bit more off, but look at that, so tiny, so cute. Okay, now quit gushing about your plant here, Whitney, and move along. Okay, there we go. So here, let's get this out of the way. And that one's gonna go. So here are all of the pothos that we are going to pot up. And I got these super cute hanging pots. And they just are on a little rope here and have a hook. And I got these at Target. I'm obsessed with Target. I know a few of others of you probably are too. And I got 3 of them. So they are a smaller size, but I got 3, and I am just kind of going to divide up these plants between the 3 of them. So I always start with my pot. I put a little bit of lava rock down in the bottom. That is not so much for soil retention as it is from keeping them to get blown over or tipped over. So where I live, it's super windy. I also have 2 small kids. So I want to make sure that these don't get super top heavy. Now, where these are going to be hanging, I don't need to do that. But if, just a note, I do that in all my outside pots, because if I don't, they literally just like blow over. Okay. All right. So here we go. Okay, the last little point that I wanted to make about these pots and other pots, especially with new soil, is I really like to saturate the soil. So we took and filled these pots up. They do have a drainage hole. I don't like pots that don't have a drainage hole, but this one has a little rubber stopper. And so what I do is I will soak, let's take a look, soak the soil. So you can see it is like soil soup down inside here. And that, yeah, there you go. Now you can kind of really see it. But this is, I'm gonna let it soak for about 30 minutes is all. And then I'm gonna pull the little stopper out of the bottom and let all of that water drain out, and then hang them or put them where they want to be to dry. Pothos don't really like to be wet all the time. They are literally the most forgiving plant though, but they don't like to be soppy all the time. So I want to really soak this water because they won't be watered for at least another week, and then pull the plug, drain all the water out, move them to their new home. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this half as much as I did. Even if you didn't, I did, so that's good. And hopefully you weren't looking for anything super fancy or any brand new advice, stuff that you haven't heard before. I keep it real here, so pouring it straight out of the soil bag and using my plastic fork to separate stuff, that's just, you know, what I'm all about. So If that fits for you, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and I will be posting more videos on indoor plants as well as on my garden. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.